Thank you, Sarah. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to live up to that, but anyway, we'll give it a try. Good morning. I'm Karen. As Sarah said, I'm Chair of Trustees at St Thomas's. Can you hear me? Am I holding this close enough? Is that better? Okay. Yeah, I'm a member of St Thomas's Church in Brampton, and that's where Hope House originated from, really. I'm going to tell you a bit more about Hope House, and then, as Sarah said, two of our former residents, Ado and Paul, are going to share their testimonies of how, through coming to Hope House, God has changed their lives, and that is amazing. So shall we just pray? Father God, I thank you for Oaks Community Church and for its people, for their love and prayers and support, which enables us at Hope House to do your work in giving hope and changing lives. I pray, Lord, this morning that you will speak through me and Paul and Ado. Amen. So, Hope House, how we started. So, 7 years ago, Matt Barnes, who was then the minister, or rector as we call him, of St Thomas's at Brampton, was driving down St Augustine's Road in Birdholme, down to the traffic lights with Derby Road. He saw a sailboard on the corner outside what was then called the Ponderosa. Those of you who know Chesterfield and have been around a long time will know of the Ponderosa's colourful history. And Matt, the sign said that the business lease was for sale. He'd never set foot in the place, none of us ever had. And he heard God saying to him, use that building to provide a home and a hope to the homeless and show them that I love them. And it's the passage from Matthew that I'm sure you all know, Matthew 40. And I'm not going to be able to read it because I haven't brought my reading glasses. But it's the passage where God says, whatever you did for one of these, you did it for me. And that's our message. That's what keeps us going. It's what's kept us going over the last 7 years. So Matt came back to church in his way that he did and said, right, we want to buy this lease. So hands in pockets. And the St Thomas's family was very generous. We raised the money to buy the business lease. And the Ponderosa became Hope House in June 2017. With its existing residents, it was a real culture shock for them. They were very isolated. The only time they'd seen their previous landlord was when he went to collect the rent. And we didn't change much. We explained to them that I think they were quite anxious about us being a Christian organisation. And the only thing that we said we wouldn't tolerate was there was some use of Ouija boards in the house. And in fact, one of the residents said he would leave. He didn't want to be with have a landlord that was a Christian. But the others were fine, and we gradually were working with them. The building was horrendous inside. And as somebody moved out, we did a room up, and volunteers came and put a new kitchen in, and as somebody was having their kitchen done and gave us their old kitchen. And then, in God's way, testing us, there was a fire on the 30th of December 2017 during the day, and nobody was hurt, thank the Lord. But the building became uninhabitable. And for all sorts of reasons, it took 3 years. Excuse me, I've got a very runny nose. It took 3 years before Hope House opened its doors to new residents again. And it felt like the forces of evil were determined to stop us at every single turn. Many times we as trustees thought that we would have to give up. But God was with us, and he got us through each hurdle and over each mountain. And as Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And that's what kept us going. And it was really, really tough at times, because not only were we doing this out of faith, but we also had legal responsibilities. And there were times when our legal responsibilities and really got to the point where we're thinking, can we carry on? But he brought us to green pastures, which some of you may have heard of. It's a national charity. It was set up about 27 years ago. And it's dedicated to ending homelessness in the United Kingdom. And it does this by enabling churches and Christian groups to own properties, or lease properties from them, to do the sorts of things that we're doing at Hope House. And it can be homeless people, refugees, safe homes for women fleeing violence. And Green Pastures buy the freeholds of these properties, and then they lease them back to the church or the organisation to run. So they purchased the freehold for us in June 2020, which was amazing because it gave us security it gave us freedom from our previous commercial landlord, who wasn't particularly helpful. And they provided us with legal and business and pastoral support, which they still do. They contributed to the renovation of the building because the rules on houses in multiple occupancy had changed in the meantime, so we had to do lots of different things. And we changed it completely inside. Still blue outside at that point. We had a very generous Christian donor who gave us a no-interest loan, which we've paid off now, which is amazing. And we just went from strength to strength. We had the pandemic to deal with, which is, just a little thing. But the builders were great. They went in September 2020, and were able to work in different parts of the building. And then when they moved out just before Christmas, when they finished and they handed it over, we'd had to take all the decorating out of the contract because we couldn't afford that bit. So we went in couples, and the size of the building meant that you could have one couple decorating at one bit and one doing somebody else and one stripping off plaster. And my husband and I used to go in at 5 o'clock in the evening when he finished work, and I'd take tea with us. And he plastered, and I varnished, and I sanded, and I stripped walls until about 11 o'clock at night, and then we'd go home, and then we'd do it the following day. And we got it finished, and we opened our doors in April 2021 to our first residents. And we haven't really looked back. It's been really, really tough, I have to say. There have been times when we've thought we're not going to be able to keep going, but God has always been there for us. And the words of Jeremiah have spoken to us in that way. As Sarah said, we've got 12 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms that the guys share, a kitchen, quite a nice kitchen, I think. Can we agree with that? Dining room, lounge, laundry room, backyard, which is lovely and sunny, and an office. It's staffed 24/7. We've got a staff team of 8 who are amazing, including your wonderful Sarah, who is just incredible to say. And I'm going to embarrass him now. It's led by Ryan, our manager, over there. And the wonderful Roxy, our assistant manager, and then it's a team through the door. So. And we've got a trustee board of 7, so we're definitely not trustees who kind of just meet once or twice a year. It's very hands-on. And one of the things I'll be saying at the end, if anybody's interested in becoming a trustee, please see me afterwards. We're a Christian charity. We make no apology for that whatsoever. And we'll tell anybody that's what we are, whoever we talk to. That's our ethos. It's a Christian ethos. Our staff are either Christians or they commit to supporting and furthering the Christian ethos in the house. And if they don't want to do that when they come for an interview, then they don't join us, really. So we get our referrals from Pathways in Chesterfield or from the local councils, either Chesterfield or North East Derbyshire. And our residents have all got, in some way, a local connection with either Chesterfield or North East Derbyshire. Sometimes it's a bit of a tenuous connection, but there's a connection there somewhere. As Sarah said, it's a dry and a clean house, no drugs, no alcohol, and that's very strict. Because as you'll hear from Ado and Paul, that's difficult for some of our guys. It does mean that Hope House isn't always the place for everyone who's referred to us. And we have, at times, a fairly high turnover of residents because it's not for them. You know, it's not that they failed, it's just not for them. Excuse me. Our residents stay with us between 6 months and 2 years, although we've got one resident who's coming up for 3.5 years. 2 or 3 years, is it? Yeah. We're working hard to find him somewhere to go to, but he's part of the furniture now, really, isn't he? And our residents live as a community. They have daily cleaning tasks. They take it in turns to cook dinner for the whole house, and they eat together in the evening. There's a compulsory house meeting, which sort of happens every day, but now so many of them are volunteering and doing activities out of the house that actually there aren't many of them there at 10 o'clock in the morning, so it doesn't always happen. And that's followed by a time of devotion and prayer, which is optional. And some guys don't come along at all. Some come and sit there on their phones, and then gradually, God starts to speak to them. And Sarah runs an Alpha course in the house, and her wonderful mum makes cakes for the guys. I'm not sure why they go to Alpha, but anyway. And part of being in supported accommodation, because that's what we are, is that they have to do some meaningful activity. So we've got 9 of our 12 residents, or 11 residents, volunteering at various places. Ashgate Hospice Warehouse, the Law Centre, the cafe at St Thomas's. What have I forgotten? Is that it? Farm, Rhubarb Farm. And they do exercise, they go to the gym. Ryan's very keen on fishing, so he takes them fishing. They go to football. They get involved with a project at Chesterfield Football Club called Aspire, which is a mental health wellbeing course, which Ado will tell you about because he's a graduate of that and one of their star graduates. And they do outdoor activities with Edge Ministries. They've been to the Lake District, they've been hiking in Scotland. Some of the guys, 3 of you went to the Gathering as volunteers, the Christian Vision for Men annual weekend. And they help at St Augustine's next door. We're very close, work very closely with St Augustine's. Sally Ann Beecham, who's the priest in charge at St Augustine's, is one of our trustees. So they help there with the food bank in Gussie's kitchen, and some of them go to the Sunday evening service there. So that's kind of a bit about it. It's expensive, as you can imagine. You staff a place 24 hours a day. It costs us about £200,000 a year to run Hope House. We get 75% of that through the housing benefit that the council pays us directly for the guys. But that doesn't cover all our costs because it won't cover the support that we provide to the residents. So they pay a small service charge, a weekly service charge, which goes towards their food, the energy bills for the house, the TV license, the Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff. And the other 25%, about 50,000 a year, we have to raise. And we do that through generous individuals who commit to giving regularly or give us one-off donations, churches such as yourselves, businesses, and fundraising. I was at the Advent Market at St Thomas's yesterday, helping doing a re-gifted store with a friend, and we made about £160. It's not much in the scheme of things, but it all helps. It's that, the ocean's made up of lots of individual drops of water. Like all charities, we're always looking for more donors, either regular givers or one-off donations, and we're always trying to look for grants and things. We got grants for the new windows that we put in earlier this year, and for the insulated rendering that's gone on the outside. If anybody's driven along Derby Road, it's not blue anymore, it's beautiful. And the scaffolding's gone. So, Hope House, as we see it, it's a practical example of our faith and mission and discipleship in action. We, as trustees and as members of St Thomas's, stepped out in faith, and God has blessed us. It's blessed us with couple of trustees from outside St Thomas's, which is great. And he's led us through some really very difficult times. Sometimes have been very dark, but we know that he will always do that. And we're now in a position 3 years on, starting to talk about and this is news to Ado and Paul, of taking on another property, a smaller property, that some of our residents could move into and not have 24/7 support, just be visited, and a kind of almost like a halfway house to living on their own. Because the biggest fear, I think, is that people leave supported accommodation, get a flat or somewhere, and they're on their own and they have no support. And that's what we set out to do, to make sure that our guys didn't do that. They didn't feel alone and then turn back to the street community where they come from. As I said earlier, that's looking for the new house is something we're just starting to explore with Green Pastures. And so that's a request for prayer, really. Pray that will be the right thing for us to do, and that we will find the finances to be able to do that. As I said, we're always looking for people who are willing to join us as trustees. If you're interested, talk to me over lunch. As Sarah said, we're all retired. Well, actually, we're not, because Sally Ann's still working. And we're at different stages of our retirement, but I think we recognise you don't go on forever, and we want Hope House to go on for a lot longer than we're going to be able to do that. We have regular Zoom prayer meetings. We've got a regular newsletter that comes out by email. You can sign up for that on the website. And we're always asking people if they would commit to being a regular giver. No amount is too small, or too big, actually, but certainly not too small. Every little drop helps. And finally, I just want to say the aim of Hope House has always been and will always be to help tackle homelessness in Chesterfield and North East Derbyshire. And that's our charity object, Chesterfield and North East Derbyshire. So I don't want you to think, oh, we're in Dronfield and they're in Chesterfield, so what's it kind of got to do with us? And I know you don't think that because you support us, and that's wonderful. It's to provide a home and support for men who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and to enable them to rebuild their lives and to move on to live independently in the community. And we are committed to continuing to support them after they've left Hope House, because they will always be part of our family. And that very neatly leads me on to hand over to two members of our family, Paul and Ado, who are going to come and tell you about what God has done in their lives. So, who's coming first? Paul's coming first.
Good morning, everybody. Hope House is amazing, by the way. I'm going to tell you a little story about this guy, right? Born 50 years ago, born into army, mum and dad were in army. So I've been all around the world, but I've never had any structure or any family life around me, right? And I come from Worksop, which is probably some of you know. But anyway, I'm an ex-addict, I'm an ex-drug addict, mental health problems, and 35 years in total addiction. And a few years ago, I got to a point in my life where I had no family, I had no friends, I was on the streets, I was in addiction, I was a mess. And you know what I mean? My family used to cross the street. You're that person that if you see me on the street, you won't want to go nowhere near him. You know what I mean? And I found myself on the streets, obviously, and I were in Christmas Day. I woke up in a chip shop that were burnt out, had no roof. And I woke up with snow around me, and I was like the bottom, the lowest part I could ever been. So I went and broke the law and just get sent to jail for 1 meal. Come out of jail and just carried on with that sort of life for a very, very long time. But got a little picture here, look. Can you pull that picture up? Hey, it looks better on my phone. That was my intake picture at Hope House about a year and a half ago, because I found myself on the streets in Chesterfield. I went to Pathways, and luckily I went for an interview with Ryan and Roxy, and I got an open house, and that was it. 8.5 stone. Just no, you know what I mean? They were drained, nothing. I had health problems, but like, you know what I mean? I went to open house, met Ado. Like, we're best mates now. I just got to put that bit in. If it probably worked for Ado, I probably wouldn't have stayed, because I got there and it was like from streets into supported housing, all these people I didn't know, and I didn't know if I'd stay there or not. And Ado got round me, and you know what I mean. I did stay, thank God. And like, since in Open House, I got my mental health sorted out, doctors, finance. I'm debt free for the first time in my adult life because of Open House. I've got teeth because of Open House. You know what I mean? It's been a struggle, don't get me wrong, because from 30 years of addiction to structure, you got to get up in the morning and do your jobs, and you got to go to devotions. But I liked that bit of the devotions, and I got involved with Lifehouse Church in Chesterfield, and that's where like I reaffirmed my identity with God. But you know what I mean? And I love Hope House, and the staff, I'm more than staff now. It's like say, like, yeah. Said, like my key worker was Roxy, and I've not been in Hope House now for 9 months. I'll tell you why in a minute. But Roxy rings me up at least twice a week. It's still, you know, it's like aftercare. But like, I went from Hope House, and now me and Ada, we're in Matchstick Bible College. Do you know what I mean? I've not been in a classroom for 35 years. And now I'm doing a level 3 MVQ in health and social care, which is amazing, because when I moved into Hope House, I couldn't even read and write. It was terrible, it was terrible, wasn't it? They had a teacher coming and help us and everything. But it's brilliant. We're learning to be outreach workers. We go on streets of Doncaster. And life's just good now, isn't it? You know what I mean? I've even, my daughter, I was estranged from my daughter for 11 years. When she found out I was in Hope House doing well, she got in contact with me, and now we talk every day. Do you know what I mean? My family talk to me. We go fishing a lot because that's his thing. But they still keep in contact with us, you know what I mean? And if you can help in any way possible, you're turning people from that into me and into Ado. And then there's the other guys in there. It's amazing. But I'll leave it at that, because Ado talks quite a lot. Quite Ado.
Morning, everybody. Whoa, that's loud, that's loud. Right, I don't even know where to start. We'll talk a little bit about the goodness of God. God saved us lives, like Paul just said. We were both a mess. I mean, I'm 44 years old now, believe it or not, but I lived about 30 years in addiction. 30 years, there's nothing I haven't done that you can't ask me. I mean, I've been very naughty, very, very naughty. I've always ever known to be bad. Didn't know what it was like to be good. I've always thought that was the way to be, you know, to the point where I got to, well, I'll try and keep it as brief as I can, but by the 16 years old, I'd got about 18 criminal records. I'd done most drugs. I was addicted to heroin by 15 years old. Homeless on the streets from like 12, 13 years old. But then I managed to restore my life. I see now how God's always been working in my life, but before I could never see that. And now God is the God of restoration, you know. He has saved our lives. Like Paul just said, we're both at Matchstick Hall. It's a miracle. We're doing a level 3 adult social care diploma. We're out on the streets of Doncaster and Worksop and Rotherham, saving the people. God's using us, the negatives in our lives, to make positives in other people's lives, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle what we're doing. I have to wake myself up and slap myself out the face every day. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm doing anointed mathematics. Mathematics at my age. Wow, I never thought that about me. I actually got expelled from school because I hated mathematics. That was my badness, you know. But I spent a lot of time in and out of drugs. Towards the last, I got into a good relationship. got 2 good kids, and I was with a good woman. She sort of kept me out of trouble. She kept me on the straight and narrow. But then we went through a relationship breakdown. Started going out again, drinking, using drugs again. Back to what my old life used to teach me. That's what, every time I have a problem in my life, that was my way of answering it. Didn't really like reality, so I used to use substances to block reality, and just, that's what I always thought was normal. I knew no different. And this time it got worse and worse. You know, the drugs were piling on, so I had a good job. I worked for Royal Mail. I was a postman. But then after relationship breakdown, I started knocking around with the wrong people again, going back into pubs, doing things I shouldn't be doing again. And it got to a point where I lost my relationship, I lost my job, and then things started crashing down on me. I lost my property, and then my mother died on my 40th birthday, bless her, God rest her soul. She died of cancer on my 40th birthday, and I just couldn't cope with that pain. It's like somebody had stuck a knife in my heart. And the only way to deal with that was to go out and get smashed every day and just drinking again and blocking that reality out. It killed me. You know, I miss that woman so much. She was my relationship advisor. She was my counsellor. She was the one person I could pick up the phone and talk to if I had a problem. And then I lost that. So I was lost. I was one of God's lost children, one of his lost sheep, one of the 99, as they say. And I didn't know where to turn to. I didn't know where to roam. And I ended up in a place, in a flat, with no gas, no electric, no hot water, no food, no carpets, spending every penny I had on drugs and addiction. And I think it was 2 years ago. I'll be 2 years clean in January now. So 23rd of January, I've done 2 years sober, which I never thought I'd be standing here saying this. So that is a miracle. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much. But yeah, the 23rd of January, 2023 is when I moved into Hope House. 5 days before that, I was in this flat. I was lost, devastated, you know, in a mess, no change of clothes. I'd been 3 months in the darkness, never saw daylight. I was too ashamed to leave that flat. I had a lot of respect in Chesterfield, and I thought, I don't want people to see me like this. So I didn't dare come out. So I was waiting for it to get dark and then come into life. So I was like a night owl. No, I was like a nocturnal badger. I just came out and I did everything at night and then snuck back into my flat and slept all day, and nobody saw me for 3 months. So I had people ringing me up saying, Ado, are you still alive? I've not heard anything from you. I'm just trapped in a dark place. And it got to a point, it was around Christmas time, and that was really tough 2 years ago, you know, sitting in this place with no money, no friends around me, no people around me, no family, nobody to love, you know, nobody to care for me. And I got this cost of living payment of £300, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this money. This money's going to sort my life out. Yeah, I'm going to get some gas, I'm going to get some electric, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get motivated. But no, that night, all on drugs, every penny again. There was 3 of us, and in that flat we spent £1,128 on crack cocaine that night, every penny I had. I woke up the next morning, my friends left, and I'm sat in this flat with nothing. I felt broken, felt empty, felt lost. So I turned to the one last thing I could, which was Jesus Christ. And I got down on my hands and knees, and I prayed from over there to my heart to Jesus. And I said, Mum, or Jesus, or God, if you're up there, I need your help. Please save me. Come and save me. You know. And then the next morning, that morning, I managed to get out of bed. The next morning, after making this prayer, I got out of bed and I got into Chesterfield Town Centre, and I went to this Pathways, what Paul just said about, and I said, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be on the streets again. I had a lot of problems. I had police looking for me. I've been sofa surfing. I got myself in so much trouble. This county lines drug dealing business. I was knocking around with people with guns, knives. You know, I was doing stupid things. I just lost the care for myself and everybody around me. I was on self-destruct, and anybody who came near me was going down with me. But I was just so lost. I didn't know what I was doing. And then after making this prayer to God, 5 days later, I ended up in Hope House. And I always know it like Karen said, like it's the Ponderosa. It were a rough reputation. I used to drive past other people smoking cannabis and drinking white light, and I thought, I don't know about that. I don't want to go down there. But I did. I went down, I walked up the path, and I looked through the window and I saw the big crucifix on the wall, and I walked straight back out. I thought, no way. I'm not being brainwashed by these Christians. What are they going to do to me in there? I thought, no, this is going to be scary. But yeah, I went in. I was so hungry. I've been 3 days without food or drink, and I thought, at least if I can get in there and get a coffee and something to eat, it might be all right. But I went in, and it was actually lovely inside. just been fully renovated. Everyone really friendly, you know, and they took me straight under the wing. And all they ask you for is to go to church, optional, on a Sunday for an hour, and do a 10-minute devotional in the morning. And I thought, oh, yeah, I can deal with that. But after I started doing these little devotionals and just going back to church to say thank you for this place that you give me, I just wanted to say thank you. I want to say thank you to God. It sort of scared me in a way, because I made that prayer, and then I got to Old Pass and I thought, is this just a coincidence, or have you done this, Jesus? You know, is this you working? So I kept asking for little signs. And the next morning I walked outside, and there was a great big cross in the sky where the planes had crossed in the sky. But I still weren't convinced. I asked him again, and he did it again the next day. No word of a lie, yeah? Twice in a row. The blue skies were just one big cross in the sky, and I thought, right, that's it. I'm convinced. Jesus has got my back. And I thought, hang on a minute, I've been quite naughty. I've got some making up to do. So I started working hard, working next door in the church, doing a lot of gardening work for Old Pass, and I relayed all the path work. I just started putting a little bit back into society. I had a long way to come, you know. I was £23,500 of debt when I moved into that house, and they helped me get debt-free. They helped me get clean from addiction. Now, I sort of lied to get through the door. Have you got any addiction problems? No. Are you wanted by the police? No. I think the day after I moved in, I'm sat with Sarah eating his chicken sandwiches at dinner time, and I saw a police come running up the driveway, and I thought, oh no. I just lied to get in here. Like, you want to be back, please? But I dealt with all that. I've had a lot of problems. I've had to get out of debt. I had a lot of problems with police. It were like all the past problems from that addiction, you know, the things you hide from. I didn't want to dare open a letter in case it were bad news, but I started facing all my fears through Old House, you know, with the help of all the staff who've been tremendous. They saved my life. They helped me save my life. I was lost, and that place saved me. So it's a miracle what they're doing for people in there. And now I've sort of I've become quite a key housemate in a way. I've become a stage 3 house member, which is very difficult. Not many people get to a stage 3. They don't last that long. But I started being the one, indirectly being a support worker, I suppose. I was helping lads coming through the door, just being the one to comfort them and to be the one to talk to, helping them face their problems. So I'm using like I say, the negatives from my life to try and change other people's lives. And then started going to church. And I love God now, you know. I realised that he's always been there for me. I've had 3 car crashes at 80 mile an hour. And I remember waking up in hospital one morning, like, just crashed this car at 80 mile an hour. And I remember the doctor, all these machines around me beeping. The doctor just looked down at me and he went, wow, you must be wrapped in the hands of God. And I thought from them, you know, I've seen it now. I've done it 3 times since, you know. I've crashed 3 cars at 80 mile an hour. I'm quite, like, God's got a bigger purpose for me, and I see that now. But all that time wrapped in all that addiction, you don't see God working in your life, but I see him everywhere now. I love Jesus, you know, I love what he's been doing for everybody. And now we're in a place with 60 people, 60 other lads with similar backgrounds, you know, criminal backgrounds, drug addiction, drinking issues, and we all help each other. We're like an army for Jesus. What we're out doing at the minute is brilliant. Anyway, I'm talking too much. I'm going on and on and on and on. How long have I been now? Not too long. I'm going to leave a bit more. Okay, yeah? Right, carry on. Right, where did I get to? Yeah, so, all right. Old Pass again. So, yeah, I started doing good things. Like, we went onto an Aspire course working with Chesterfield Football Club. Me and Paul both been nominated for an award. I'm thinking, wow, I've just been, you know, after all this madness with police, and now being put up for an award. We got visited by the local mayor, the Archbishop of Canterbury. You know, we're becoming this nationwide success story. All the people, everybody wants to come and talk to us, and it's like, I'm loving this now. You know, my life's changed for the better just by going to church, just by praying in the morning and talking to God every day, asking him for his help. But I was still living on Derby Road, very busy, noisy road, blue lights everywhere. And I read this Psalm 23 in the Bible. The Lord makes me sit in green pastures, and he sits me beside the still waters. I thought, well, where's all these green pastures? You know, where's these still waters? And then I got to Mattersey, and the big sign said, welcome to green pastures. And when I got there, it was just a beautiful field on the back. It's a beautiful place. And I walked out, it was a lovely day, and I sat in the middle of this field, and I felt God come down on me. I felt at peace for the first time in my life, probably. It was beautiful, beautiful. But I was still looking for these still waters. I thought, right, these are the green pastures. Where are the still waters? And then Ryan and Paul took me fishing. They took me fishing. Oh wow, I thought I'd never liked fishing, but when I got there and I sat outside of these still waters, wow, it's such a beautiful, peaceful place. You're watching the sun coming down over the water, and now I love it. I'm addicted to fishing, which is, you know what, that's better than anything else I've ever been addicted to. So yeah, Hope House has been a miracle. It saved my life, you know, it did. The staff in there, I have pushed them to their limits. Sarah has, you know, bless her. Bless her. She's been through it all. She's seen it all with us lot. I think I've run up to my last warning with the first 2 months of moving in there. I was such a naughty boy. But now, God's grace has come down upon me, and I'm doing good things for a lot of people. And now I want to go back out onto the streets. I want to save lives. I want to do what they've done for me. You know, I want a zone project. Me and Paul, we're brilliant together. We're out on the streets of Doncaster Thursday night in freezing cold. That guy spent £200 out of his own pocket just feeding people on the streets. Feeding people on the streets. That's the goodness of God working inside him. And it's just amazing that we've come from this sort of lifestyle, this background of addiction and madness. All we've ever known is dark. We've had dark hearts, but God restored the light into his heart. He gave us the hope back, what we've just been talking about this morning. We're talking about hope. You look at people like me and him, and you think people can't change, you know. But there's a lot of lives out there that need saving. Addiction's bad. And to be fair, Dronfield's where it all started for me. I come back here, and this is when I first started getting my heroin from Dronfield. The lads who were knocking around me in Dronfield was where, I mean, it's quite close to Jordanthorpe, Pittsmore. So we used to come to Dronfield to get a lot of my drugs. So it's your lot's fault. No, I'm only joking. No. Yeah, it's quite a flashback coming back here. Yeah, it's amazing. But I'm going to carry on doing good things and saving people. That's what they used to have taught me. You know, I want to be. It's good that we've been through Hope House. I spent 16 months in that house in the end. I've been at Mattersey now 4 months, but I can use everything they've taught me. When we sat doing this MVQ, I know the answers, you know. I know the answers because this is what these guys have taught me, what they've showed me. Sitting down doing the support plans, and now I've become sort of, me and Paul are like very key characters into helping other people in that house, and we want to spread that love to you all. So that's why we're here today. Just thanks for Hope House, and thank you for having us all here today. Amen. God bless.